Have you ever felt like Allah was trying to tell you something through the events of your life? A door suddenly closed. A relationship unexpectedly ended. A plan you worked so hard for completely fell apart. Or perhaps something has changed within you. The things that once excited you no longer satisfy you. The endless scrolling, the constant chase for success, and the need for people's approval start feeling empty. Yet despite the confusion, a strange feeling remains. A feeling that Allah may be leading you somewhere. In today's world, people are more connected than ever, yet many feel lost inside. They chase success, money, relationships, and recognition, hoping to find peace. But even after achieving these things, many still feel an emptiness they cannot explain. What if that emptiness is not a problem? What if it is a sign? What if the delays, disappointments, struggles, and changes happening within your heart are not random at all? What if Allah has been guiding you this entire time, but you simply haven't recognized the signs? The great Sufi master Ibn Arabi taught that Allah's guidance often comes in subtle ways. Sometimes through a closed door, sometimes through a hardship, sometimes through a restless heart that can no longer find peace in the distractions of the world. In this video, we will uncover that Allah may be guiding you right now. And by the end, you may realize that some of the most confusing moments of your life were never obstacles at all. They were signs that Allah was guiding you closer to Him all along. When Allah removes what you thought you needed. One of the most painful experiences in life is losing something you were convinced you needed. In today's world, people build their entire identity around certain goals. They tell themselves, if I get this job, I'll finally be happy. If this relationship works out, my life will be complete. If I achieve this dream, everything will make sense. We become emotionally attached to outcomes, believing they are the key to our future. Then suddenly everything changes. The promotion goes to someone else. The business fails. The person you loved walks away. The opportunity you prayed for disappears without explanation. The future you imagined begins to crumble before your eyes. And in that moment, it feels like Allah is taking something from you. But Ibn Arabi invites us to see these moments differently. What if Allah is not taking something away from you? What if He is removing something that is standing between you and the person you are meant to become? The truth is that human beings can only see the present moment. We see what we desire, but Allah sees where that desire will lead. We see the door we want open, but Allah sees what is waiting behind it. Sometimes the very thing we are chasing with all our strength carries hidden harm that only Allah knows. Years later, many people look back and realize that the rejection they cried over protected them. The relationship that ended saved them. The closed door redirected them toward a life they never could have imagined. What once looked like loss was actually mercy. What once felt like abandonment was actually guidance. This is one of the deepest signs that Allah is guiding you. Not every blessing comes in the form of receiving. Sometimes the greatest blessing comes in the form of removal. Because Allah does not always guide you by giving you what you want. Sometimes He guides you by preventing you from settling for less than what He has written for you. So if a door has recently closed in your life, do not rush to conclude that Allah has forgotten you. The closed door itself may be the sign. It may be Allah gently redirecting your path toward a destination your current vision cannot yet comprehend. And one day, when the wisdom becomes clear, you may thank Allah for the very thing you once begged Him not to take away. When your heart becomes uncomfortable with sin, one of the clearest signs that Allah is guiding you is not something happening around you. It is something happening within you. In today's world, people are surrounded by distractions every second of the day. Social media constantly demands attention. Entertainment never stops. Endless scrolling has become a daily habit. People are so busy consuming information that they rarely stop to examine the condition of their own hearts. And slowly, without realizing it, many become comfortable with things that distance them from Allah. But then something begins to change. The things that once entertained you no longer satisfy you. The habits you once justified start making you uncomfortable. The conversations you once enjoyed begin to feel empty. You may still fall into mistakes, but now they leave a weight on your heart that was not there before. You cannot enjoy the sin the way you once did. You cannot ignore your conscience the way you once did. And sometimes this change can be confusing. You wonder why your heart suddenly feels restless, why certain behaviors no longer bring peace, why you feel a growing desire to step away from things that everyone else seems comfortable doing. Ibn Arabi would say that this discomfort is not a sign that Allah is distant from you. It is a sign that He is drawing you closer. Because one of the greatest tragedies is not committing a sin. The greatest tragedy is becoming so spiritually numb that the sin no longer affects your heart at all. A heart that feels pain after disobedience is still alive. A heart that feels regret is still awake. A heart that keeps returning to Allah, even after falling, is a heart being guided. Many people today mistake spiritual discomfort for anxiety or weakness. They try to silence it with more entertainment, more distractions, and more noise. But that inner voice may actually be one of Allah's greatest gifts. It is His mercy calling you back before you drift too far. So if you have recently found yourself feeling uncomfortable with habits that once seemed normal, do not ignore that feeling. If your heart is becoming more sensitive to what pleases Allah and what distances you from Him, that is not a burden. It is a blessing. Because when Allah wants good for someone, He does not merely change their circumstances. He changes their heart. And the moment your heart begins longing for what pleases Allah more than what pleases your ego, you are witnessing one of the most beautiful signs of divine guidance. When life forces you to slow down, one of the most overlooked signs that Allah is guiding you is when He slows down a life that was moving too fast. In today's world, people are constantly running toward success, running toward money, running toward recognition, running toward goals they barely have time to question. From the moment they wake up, they are checking notifications, answering messages, scrolling through social media, comparing themselves to others, and worrying about what they have not achieved yet. The world celebrates speed so much that many people never stop long enough to ask themselves a simple question: where am I actually going? Then suddenly, life changes. A door closes, a plan gets delayed, a job opportunity disappears, a business struggles, a relationship ends. The future you carefully planned no longer unfolds according to your timeline. What once seemed certain becomes uncertain. And for the first time in a long time, you are forced to slow down. At first, it feels frustrating. You feel left behind while everyone else seems to be moving ahead. You watch others posting their achievements, their successes, their perfect moments online, and you begin wondering why your own life feels stuck. You question yourself. You question your direction. Sometimes you even question whether Allah has forgotten about you. But Ibn Arabi invites us to see these moments through a completely different lens. What if the delay is not a punishment? What if the pause is actually protection? Because sometimes Allah slows your outer life so He can awaken your inner life. Many people only begin reflecting on their relationship with Allah when their plans stop working. As long as everything is moving smoothly, they remain distracted by the noise of the world. But when life becomes still, they finally hear the questions that were buried beneath the chaos. Who am I becoming? What truly matters? What am I chasing? How close am I to Allah? The answers to these questions rarely emerge during periods of constant movement. They often emerge in moments of waiting, uncertainty, and stillness. Some of the greatest transformations in a person's life begin during seasons they initially wanted to escape. The delay that frustrated them becomes the period that deepened their faith. The setback that broke their plans becomes the event that strengthened their character. The uncertainty they feared becomes the reason they learned to trust Allah more than themselves. Years later, many people realized that the season they called being stuck was actually the season that changed everything. Because Allah was not delaying their life. He was preparing their heart. He was teaching patience in a world addicted to instant gratification. He was teaching trust in a culture obsessed with control. He was teaching dependence on Him instead of dependence on circumstances. So if life feels slower than you expected right now, do not assume that nothing is happening. Allah is often doing His deepest work when it appears that nothing is moving at all. The seed grows underground long before anyone sees the tree. And sometimes the greatest sign that Allah is guiding you is not that He is speeding up your journey. It is that He loves you enough to slow you down before you travel too far in the wrong direction. When your attachment to the world begins to weaken, one of the most powerful signs that Allah is guiding you is when the things that once controlled your heart begin to lose their power over you. In today's world, people are constantly taught to attach their happiness to external things. Social media tells you that success is everything. Advertisements convince you that the next purchase will finally satisfy you. Society measures your worth by your income, your appearance, your status, your followers, and the approval of strangers. As a result, many people spend their entire lives chasing things they believe will bring them peace. Yet even after achieving them, they often feel empty. They get the promotion they wanted, but the satisfaction doesn't last. They buy the things they dreamed of owning, but the excitement fades. They receive recognition and praise, yet still feel restless inside. The more they chase the world, the more they discover that the world can never fully satisfy the soul. This is where divine guidance often begins. Slowly, Allah starts changing your perspective. The things that once seemed absolutely necessary no longer feel as important. You still work hard. You still pursue your goals. You still fulfill your responsibilities. But deep inside, you begin realizing that your peace cannot depend on things that can disappear overnight. You begin understanding that money can come and go. People can enter your life and leave. Health can change. Opportunities can vanish. Circumstances can shift without warning. And because of this realization, your heart starts seeking something more permanent, something that cannot be taken away, something beyond the temporary nature of this world. Ibn Arabi taught that true freedom begins when the heart becomes attached to Allah more than it is attached to creation. This does not mean abandoning the world. It means refusing to make the world your source of security, identity, and peace. A remarkable transformation begins to happen. The opinions of people stop controlling your emotions. You no longer need everyone's approval to feel valuable. You stop comparing your life to carefully edited images on social media. You stop measuring your worth by how much you possess or how successful you appear to others. For the first time, you begin breathing differently, living differently, thinking differently, because you realize that what Allah thinks of you matters infinitely more than what the world thinks of you. This kind of freedom is rare in a generation obsessed with comparison. It is rare in a world where people constantly seek validation from screens, followers, likes, and public approval. Yet when Allah guides someone, He gradually breaks these invisible chains. Not all at once, but little by little. The things that once felt essential become secondary. The things that once consumed your thoughts lose their grip on your heart, and in their place grows something far more valuable: trust in Allah. If you have recently noticed that worldly achievements no longer excite you the way they once did, if your heart is becoming less attached to status, recognition, and material success, if you find yourself caring more about your relationship with Allah than about impressing people, do not mistake that change for weakness. It may be one of the strongest signs that Allah is guiding you, because when Allah wants to bring a servant closer to Him, He often begins by teaching them a profound truth. Everything in this world is temporary, but the one who created it is eternal. And the moment your heart starts preferring the eternal over the temporary, you have already taken a major step on the path of divine guidance. When you feel an unexplainable longing for Allah, one of the most beautiful and often overlooked signs that Allah is guiding you is when your heart begins to long for Him in a way that you cannot fully explain. This longing does not always arrive during moments of happiness. In fact, it often appears when the world has failed to give you the peace it promised. You may have spent years chasing success, building a career, growing a business, seeking recognition, or pursuing goals that you believed would finally make you feel complete. Perhaps you achieved some of those things. Perhaps you gained what many people dream of having. Yet despite all of it, a strange emptiness remained. Deep inside, there was a feeling that something was missing. Not because your life was necessarily bad, but because your soul was searching for something greater than anything this world could offer. This is a reality many people are experiencing today. Never before in human history have people had so much access to entertainment, information, technology, and convenience. A person can spend an entire day connected to the world through a screen and yet feel completely disconnected from themselves. They can have hundreds of online friends and still feel lonely. They can achieve outward success and still go to sleep with a restless heart. The modern world has become incredibly skilled at keeping people distracted, but distractions can never satisfy the deepest needs of the soul. Then something begins to change. You find yourself thinking about Allah more often, not because someone is forcing you to, not because of fear, not because of social pressure, but because your heart itself is being pulled in that direction. You may be scrolling through social media and suddenly feel tired of all the noise. You may be surrounded by entertainment and yet find yourself craving silence. You may be in the middle of a busy day and unexpectedly feel the desire to make dua. You may hear a verse of the Quran, a reminder, or the call to prayer, and something deep within you responds, "The world has not changed, but your heart has." And according to Ibn Arabi, this is not something small. This longing itself is a form of divine guidance. Many people think guidance only means receiving answers from Allah. They think guidance means having certainty about the future, knowing exactly what decision to make, or seeing obvious signs that remove all doubt. But often, guidance begins much earlier than that. It begins when Allah places within the heart a desire to seek Him. Before a person moves toward Allah, Allah creates within them the longing to move. Before a person searches for Allah, Allah awakens the desire to search. Before a person knocks on the door of divine closeness, Allah inspires them to approach the door in the first place. This is why spiritual longing is such a precious gift. Not everyone experiences it. Many people become completely absorbed by worldly pursuits. Years pass, and they never stop to think about the purpose of their existence. Their hearts become occupied with temporary concerns from morning until night. They worry endlessly about money, status, competition, appearance, and public approval, yet rarely think about the condition of their soul. The tragedy is not that they lack intelligence or ambition. The tragedy is that they have forgotten what their hearts were created for. But when Allah guides someone, He begins awakening them from this spiritual sleep. Suddenly, the things that once seemed so important lose some of their power. The endless chase for validation becomes exhausting. The constant need to impress people begins to feel meaningless. The pursuit of temporary pleasures no longer satisfies the way it once did. The heart starts looking beyond the surface of life. And this search can sometimes feel painful, because the more the heart awakens, the more aware it becomes of its distance from Allah. You may begin noticing your mistakes more than before. You may become more conscious of your shortcomings. You may feel regret over wasted years, missed opportunities, or moments when you neglected your relationship with Allah. But even this awareness is a sign of mercy, because a heart that feels its distance from Allah is a heart that is already turning back toward Him. A completely lost heart does not worry about its distance. A completely lost heart does not feel the pain of separation. The pain itself is evidence that the connection still exists. In fact, many of the people closest to Allah throughout history experienced periods of intense longing. They understood that this longing was not a punishment, it was an invitation. It was Allah calling them beyond the distractions of the world and toward a deeper relationship with Him. Perhaps this is happening in your life right now. Perhaps you find yourself increasingly drawn to prayer. Perhaps you feel a desire to read the Quran even when nobody is watching. Perhaps you enjoy moments of dhikr more than you enjoy moments of entertainment. Perhaps your heart feels more at peace when remembering Allah than when consuming the endless distractions offered by the modern world. If so, do not ignore these feelings. Do not dismiss them as random emotions. Do not allow the noise of the world to silence them, because these moments may be among the clearest signs that Allah is guiding you. The greatest miracle is not always a dramatic event. Sometimes the greatest miracle is a heart that begins turning back toward its Creator, a heart that begins searching for Allah in a world that is constantly pulling it in the opposite direction. A heart that continues seeking Him despite its flaws, its mistakes, and its struggles. And perhaps the most beautiful truth of all is this: you would not be searching for Allah if Allah did not want you to find Him. The longing itself is the sign. The desire itself is the invitation. And every time your heart feels pulled toward Allah, remember that this pull may be one of the greatest expressions of His guidance in your life. When your difficulties bring you closer to Allah instead of farther away. One of the most powerful signs that Allah is guiding you is not that your life becomes easier. It is that your struggles begin bringing you closer to Him. This is a lesson that is especially difficult to understand in today's world. We live in a culture that worships comfort. Everywhere we look, we are told that happiness comes from avoiding pain, eliminating challenges, and creating a life where everything goes according to our plans. Social media constantly shows us images of success, luxury, achievement, and perfect moments. As a result, many people unconsciously begin to believe that a good life is a life without struggle. But reality teaches us something very different. No matter how successful, wealthy, intelligent, or prepared a person may be, hardship eventually arrives. Sometimes it comes in the form of a broken relationship. Sometimes it comes through financial pressure, illness, disappointment, loneliness, betrayal, anxiety, or a future that suddenly falls apart despite all your efforts. In those moments, it is natural to wonder why Allah allowed it to happen. It is natural to ask questions that have no immediate answers. Yet Ibn Arabi invites us to look beyond the surface of our suffering. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" he encourages us to ask, "What is Allah teaching me through this?" Because sometimes the greatest spiritual growth happens during the very seasons we would never have chosen for ourselves. Many people spend years feeling self-sufficient. They rely on their plans, their intelligence, their resources, and their ability to control outcomes. As long as everything is working, they rarely stop to reflect on how dependent they truly are on Allah. The heart becomes distracted by ambitions, deadlines, responsibilities, and endless pursuits. Life moves so fast that there is little room for deep reflection. Then suddenly, everything changes. A door closes that you were certain would open. A dream you've spent years building begins to crumble. A loss enters your life that no amount of planning could have prevented. The future becomes uncertain. The answers disappear. The control you thought you had slips through your fingers. And for the first time in a long time, you find yourself turning to Allah with complete sincerity. Not because you have mastered faith, not because you have become spiritually perfect, but because you have reached the limits of your own strength and realize that only Allah can carry you through what lies ahead. This is often where true transformation begins. The hardship itself may still hurt. The tears are real. The confusion is real. The fear is real. Yet hidden beneath all of that pain is a gift that many people only discover later. The gift of dependence on Allah. In today's world, people are constantly searching for security in things that can disappear overnight. They place their trust in careers, relationships, bank accounts, social status, and future plans. None of these things are wrong in themselves. But when life shakes them, people suddenly realize how fragile worldly security really is. What remains when everything else is uncertain? Allah remains. What remains when every plan changes? Allah remains. What remains when people leave, opportunities vanish, and circumstances shift? Allah remains. And it is often through hardship that a person learns this truth, not as an idea, but as a lived reality. Many of the people who are closest to Allah today were shaped by struggles they never wanted. They were shaped by nights of uncertainty, by prayers made through tears, by moments when they had no choice but to trust Allah, even when they could not understand His wisdom. Those experiences transformed them. The hardship did not destroy them. It deepened them. Ibn Arabi understood that Allah's wisdom is often hidden inside experiences that initially feel painful. The setback teaches patience. The loss teaches detachment. The delay teaches trust. The disappointment teaches humility. The uncertainty teaches surrender. Every struggle carries a lesson that comfort alone could never teach. That is why some hardships become turning points in a person's life. Not because the hardship itself is enjoyable, but because it awakens something within the soul. It strips away illusions. It exposes weaknesses. It reveals what truly matters. And most importantly, it brings the heart back to its creator. If you look back at your life, you may discover that your deepest prayers were made during your hardest moments. You may realize that your strongest connection with Allah emerged during a season when everything else seemed to be falling apart. You may even find that the period you once considered the darkest chapter of your life became the chapter that changed you the most. That is the mystery of divine guidance. Allah does not always guide us through ease. Sometimes He guides us through waiting. Sometimes He guides us through loss. Sometimes He guides us through uncertainty. And sometimes He guides us through a struggle that becomes the very reason we find our way back to Him. So if you are facing a difficult season right now, do not assume that Allah has abandoned you. The hardship itself may not be evidence of His distance. It may be evidence of His guidance. Because one of the strongest signs that Allah is guiding you is this: you walked through a difficulty that could have made you bitter, hopeless, and distant from Him, yet instead it made you pray more, trust more, reflect more, depend on Him more, and love Him more. And sometimes that transformation is worth more than the comfort you lost. Conclusion. As we have seen through these powerful lessons from Ibn Arabi, Allah's guidance is not always obvious. It does not always arrive in the form of miracles, clear answers, or immediate success. More often, it appears quietly through the events of everyday life, through a closed door that protects you, through a hardship that transforms you, through a delay that teaches patience, through a restless heart that begins longing for something greater than this world. In today's world, it is easy to become distracted by endless noise, constant comparison, and the pressure to chase what everyone else is chasing. But the signs of Allah's guidance are often found when we stop, reflect, and look deeper. Perhaps Allah removed something because it was not meant for you. Perhaps He slowed your journey because your soul needed growth before reaching its destination. Perhaps the struggle you are facing today is bringing you closer to Him in ways you cannot yet see. And perhaps the strongest sign of all is that your heart still seeks Allah despite all the distractions of this world. So if you are going through a season of uncertainty, do not lose hope. Trust that Allah sees what you cannot see. Trust that every chapter of your life has a purpose. And trust that the one who created your heart knows exactly how to guide it. Because sometimes what feels like a setback is actually a redirection. What feels like a loss is actually protection. And what feels like the end of one path is often the beginning of a journey that leads you closer to Allah. May Allah open our hearts to His guidance, help us recognize His signs, and keep us steadfast on the path that leads to Him. Ameen.